All right, let's take a few questions. We're going to have to move on down the road. We got a question right there, Shannon. Yeah.
Hi, I was hoping you could speak more about the bill you said with prison reform.
Yeah.
Yeah, just speak more about it.
It's going to be we're working with folks in the House right now, which is going to touch on many of the issues that I mentioned tonight. We have already introduced legislation that will get private corporations out of the business of running jails. But we got to go, that's already in. But we clearly have got to go further than that. Let me give the mic back to you. What would you like to see? Do you have some ideas as to what you would like to see in a criminal justice reform legislation?
I definitely want to see the mandatory minimums go down.
All right, everybody know what mandatory minimum is? What it means right now is regardless of the situation, judges very often have to sentence people in a certain way regardless of circumstances. There is a minimum sentence. And I think what you and I agree on is judges should have a lot more flexibility. Okay, I agree, and that will be in the legislation. Okay, so.
How you doing? I have two questions, if I can ask you.
Sure.
Okay, first I want to talk about the minimum wage, because I noticed some states...
Hold that mic a little bit closer to you.
I noticed some states already have $15 an hour minimum wage, but here we have manufacturing and industrial jobs that not paying people that much. You know, jobs where people work for maybe 30 years or however long to try to provide for a family. How are we going to fight to make sure that people are making enough to provide for their family in any type of job? Also, as you know, I am a veteran. I serve proudly. But to be honest with you, I see a lot of atrocities of how a lot of us are treated even after we go to Iraq, Afghanistan, or wherever else we are sent. So I would like to see something done about that, because if a soldier go and serve the country, they should not have to fight for a place to lay their head to sleep at night.
I'm the former chairman of the Veterans Committee, and let me just concur with your last point. The good news is that in terms of veterans homelessness, we actually have made some progress under the Obama administration, cut that number significantly. Bad news is it still exists. Needless to say, no man or woman who has put his life or her life on the line to defend this country should be living out on the streets. In terms of minimum wage, here's the story. The minimum wage, which now nationally is $7.25 an hour, has not kept pace with inflation. And too many of the new jobs that are being created are low-wage jobs. And that is why I am very happy to see that in cities like Los Angeles and Seattle, other cities around the country, that minimum wage is going up over a period of years, not tomorrow, to $15 an hour. I think that that is what we should be doing nationally as well.
First, thank you for all your service and for running. We're very excited about your campaign. I have a question about contingent faculty at universities, which make up 75% of who's teaching students are people that are often on government assistance because they're only making $2,300 a class, and I was just wondering if that would be included in bills for public education.
Look, let me just say this. We need a revolution in education in this country, from preschool to graduate school. And what I mean by that, what do I mean by that? Is this so hard to understand? We are competing now against China and India and Russia, countries all over the world. Our goal must be to have the best educated workforce in the world. And to do that, and I don't mean just to pay homage or butter you up here, we need great teachers. That's what we need. And I hope some of the young people who are sitting here, there's no more important job in this country than being a good teacher. And I hope we'll get fortunate. That is why we're going to make it easier for young people to go to college. We're going to substantially lower student debt. And we're going to raise, if I have anything to say about it, salaries for our teachers all across the board. There is something wrong when you got football players making tens of millions a year and teachers are making less than $30,000. Okay, maybe one or two more questions. I think we're going to have to hit that more.
I've got one over here, sir.
Yeah.
One over to your left.
Yeah.
Senator Sanders, we love you. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. We love you all. We support your $15 an hour minimum wage proposal. My question is, how do I convince a small business owner who doesn't have the same means as corporate America to get on board with that?
First of all, it will be phased in a number of years, not tomorrow. And that's what Seattle and LA did. Second of all, everybody that small business is competing against is going to be paying the same wage. So they're not going to be at an economic disadvantage. Bottom line here, in my view, from a economic point of view, the way we stimulate the economy, the way we create jobs is put money into the hands of working people. You got millions of people in this country today who have no disposable income at all. Once they pay their rent, buy food, buy medicine, they got nothing. If you put more money into their pockets by raising the minimum wage, they may go out to eat. They may buy some products, and that means they're creating jobs from the people who are producing those goods and services. So I believe strongly that wages have got to go up in America. Our last question. Yes, Shannon.
Thank you so much for coming out here, Senator Sanders. My question is about Washington, D.C. and other island territories getting statehood representation
Yes.
and voting rights.
Good. I represent a state, a beautiful state. I want you all to visit my state. It is maybe not in January or February unless you're skiers. Beautiful state, state of Vermont. We have about 630,000 people. We have 2 United States senators and 1 member of Congress. Now, how could I look you in the eye and say that it's good for Vermont to have 2 senators and a congressman, but that's not the case for Washington, D.C., which has the same population? I can't do it. I won't do it. I will fight the statehood for Washington, D.C. We're running late. We've got to get down the road. This has been a great meeting, and I want to just thank all of you for coming out. Last point, I'm repeating myself a little bit. Think big. We are a great nation. There is nothing that we cannot accomplish if we stand together. Let's do that. Thank you.